Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with some juice to get you through the long night. So, one of my sweet summer children asked me on Twitter to do this video. It's second Sunday, so I figured this would be the perfect topic to cover today. If you're new to my channel, click that subscribe button and become a sweet summer child. I upload videos every Wednesday and Friday and second Sundays. So, John TWB on Twitter asks, could you make a video on the potential spinoff and time periods you would want to see if it happens? And in true gray area fashion, I have a long answer for you. So back in late 2016, early 2017, Casey Bloys, whom is the programming president for HBO, basically said HBO was in talks with George R.R. Martin, the fantastic author of A Song of Ice and Fire, about spin-off ideas. And this is a quote from him. All I can say is that we're exploring it. We don't have any scripts. We're not even close to saying, oh, let's do this, but it's a big enough property that we would be foolish enough not to explore it. It's a really rich world. We'd be foolish not to look into it. So that's kind of vague. He basically said they are exploring it. He also said, I would say it's still kind of preliminary, ongoing talks. There are areas we are exploring, but I would not point to one and say, this is what we're going to do. So then George R.R. Martin recently wrote on his Nada blog that March was busy. And the quote is, besides all of that, there's been a huge new Wild Cards deal. The Wild Cards reread, lots of stuff with HBO that I cannot talk about yet. And of course, always, Winds of Winter. So, does this confirm a prequel in your opinion? What is Martin working on with HBO that he can't talk about? It was also said by Casey, a prequel feels like it has less pressure on it than a spinoff. So I'm pretty sure HBO is going to do this spinoff prequel. From a business perspective, they would be complete and utter fools not to do it. Game of Thrones is HBO's golden goose. Game of Thrones averages over 20 million weekly viewers. And you know all those ships Daenerys had in her fleet? All those ships are full of Emmys and awards that this show has gotten. HBO has gained, give or take, like 50 million subscribers since Game of Thrones aired in 2011. HBO costs roughly $20 US a month per subscriber. Multiply that by 50 million and hot diggity dog damn. I'm sorry guys, I just finished watching Hateful Eight, forgive me. That's not even mentioning like all the merchandise and HBO license shit and extras. To be honest, Game of Thrones is the only reason I have HBO. If there was no Westeros on HBO, I could totally spend that $20 on like bacon flavored toothpaste and boyfriend arm pillows. So Game of Thrones last season had a $10 million per episode cost, which I guess is expensive. But I read an interesting article, and I'll link it below, that said Friends was $10 million an episode and ER was $13 million an episode. And I'm like, what? So is Game of Thrones expensive or not? And what the fuck was Friends spending $10 million an episode on? Weren't most of the scenes filmed in like shitty apartments? I'm getting off track. But seriously though, from a business perspective, I'm calling it. They're totally doing it. Don't worry your pretty little heart. Now, what could they do? Well, let me tell you what I would like them to do firstly. I would like them to start with a prologue scene of like the Doom of Valyria that quickly pan flashes to Dragonstone to kick off this prequel. Then I would like them to jump into Aegon's conquest, and then I would like them to cover the reign of the Targaryen kings through the Dance of Dragons and the Blackfyre Rebellion up until the end of the Tales of Dunk and Egg, which may end at Summerhall, and then branch off into the reign of the Mad King and the tourney at Harrenhal, Lyanna's abduction, Rhaegar and Lyanna's relationship up until Robert's rebellion, and I would like the end scene of the whole series to be Robert's coronation. That would be everything. And if I owned HBO, that's what y'all would get. That's like at least 20 years in a world of ice and fire. So that's what I want to happen. Now, what I want to happen and what will happen is probably two different stories. So there are several prequels or ways they could do it. They could do the Tales of Dunk and Egg, which is a series of novellas that George R.R. Martin is still writing, which may make them not want to do them. I don't know. They did do A Song of Ice and Fire, and it still wasn't finished when they picked it up, and it's still not finished. But I feel like the Tales of Dunk and Egg would definitely be the most cost efficient. There won't be any dragons. The dragons are all dead, and it's two buddies traveling around the 7 kingdoms. Now, I don't know if there's enough information or enough story to actually do the Tales of Dunk and Egg and make it a series that lasts more than one season, because if you look at the Tales of Dunk and Egg, like Mystery Night all takes place at one tourney, so it's just the Ashford tourney and the events that happen at the Ashford tourney. So I don't know if that would be enough to make a prequel. Now, the next thing they could do is the Dance of Dragons. The Dance of Dragons would be expensive, but probably not as expensive as Friends or ER, which doesn't sound expensive, right? So, the Dance of Dragons is a Targaryen civil war. There's a lot of key players and moving parts, but most importantly, a lot of dragons and dragons fighting dragons, which means lots of CG. But who doesn't want to see Daemon Targaryen leap off of Caraxes and stick Dark Sister through Aemon Targaryen's eye above the god's eye in full CG and cinematic glory? They could also do the Blackfyre Rebellion. They could do Aegon's conquest and everything that entails, which means we could see the kings of the 7 kingdoms before they knelt or died and the throne being forged. They could do the Reign of Dragons. We've been given the history on all the Targaryen kings, but there are still tons we don't know. And if Martin is working with HBO, then he could definitely write some new material. Scripts are a lot easier to write than 400,000 word novels. And he already has tons of material on the Targaryens. With the Reign of Dragons, we would get dragons and war and scandals and plots and counterplots, heroes and villains. Now, I feel like what people want the most is Robert's Rebellion. But Robert's Rebellion lasted a year, 18 months, give or take. Can you get 6 or more seasons from that? Like, maybe if you flesh it out. It could start before the tourney at Harrenhal, like some years before the rebellion, and we could get to see Robert and Ned at the Eyrie, maybe even Patchface before he drowns, and then let the events play out. I also think they could do something totally unexpected, like the Rise of Valyria, like totally leave Westeros and focus more on Essos. I feel like a lot of people are interested in Essos in general, like Yti, Asai, Valyria, Lys, Mia, Braavos, and Essos. I love ideas of Essos. Although there are no Starks, there are no direwolves, so no. But they really could create an extensive Valyrian story. From the rise of Valyria, the Giscari and Valyrian wars, and the Doom, and all the in-betweens. They could do Nymeria and her Dorne conquest. They could literally do anything within this world. If I had to guess, taking into consideration longevity, cost effectiveness, and all that jazz, I'm thinking we might get some Reign of Dragons, Blackfyre Rebellion. And it wouldn't disappoint. It would actually be marvelous. We would get more beautiful Targaryens. We would get Bloodraven, Shira Seastar, Bittersteel, this big civil war of Targaryen bastards versus trueborn Targaryens. We would get Dark Sister, Blackfyre, Raven's Teeth, Redgrass Field. I just think this may be the way to go if they do not listen to the solid advice that I have offered them at the beginning of this video and take the 20-year plan. If I had to pick one and only one from the point of view of a fan, it's really hard because we want to see it all. But I think I would really like to see the Dance of Dragons. It's really similar to A Song of Ice and Fire in the sense that houses will rise and fall, sides were taken, banners were called, the North was involved, the South was involved. All the houses we know and love had a part to play, and there are some true badass, just dope characters that I would love to see. The Rogue Prince Daemon, I would love to see him in the Realms Delight Rhaenyra, Viserys I, Nettles, and Kragan Stark. There's also stuff happening in Essos and just dragons. I think Dance of Dragons would be the perfect amount of awesome. I hope this video was informative. Don't worry guys, I'm almost certain they will do a prequel. I mean, they would be foolish to let a worldwide fandom go, and it constantly gains new followers every month. Let me know what you guys think. Will they do it? All things considered, what do you think they would do, and what would you like to see them do? I hope you enjoyed this episode of Second Sunday. You can connect with me on these social medias and maybe have your question answered in one of these videos. Like this video if you like it. Click that subscribe button and notification bell so you can become a sweet summer child. As always, okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.